You're listening to the HR Happy Hour Network, sponsored by WorkHuman. By some estimates, over 80% of AI projects fail because of bad data. But here's some good news for HR. When AI leverages the rich, authentic data of employee recognition, you get something truly unique. Human intelligence from WorkHuman, creators of the world's #1 recognition platform. Human intelligence unlocks insights into performance and skills, culture and engagement, and helps surface feel-good stories that illustrate the best of your company culture. To learn more about human intelligence, go to workhuman.com. That's workhuman.com. Welcome to the HR Happy Hour Show. My name's Steve Boese. It is great to be with you. We're recording this on a Friday, which is pretty awesome. Trish, welcome. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm about halfway through an iced coffee. So, I've got like a State Farm logo, support to my State Farm
Okay, I don't know what that means. Was this some
agent
product
of 30
placement at the
years.
beginning of the show? Do we have a new sponsor?
I don't know. Maybe I should ask him. I've been a customer for forever. So yeah, I think we need a new State Farm sponsor. So State Farm, if you're listening.
Yeah. Well, it's great. Daytime happy hour is awesome. I'm on a lemonade because it's late morning here. I've rolled off the coffee, but we have a great show today. We're talking AI, but we're talking about some real practical applications of AI in HR, in talent management, rather than just kind of do one of those, let's talk about what AI means, blah, blah, blah. That's a good conversation and one that's being had all over the country. But we're going to talk a little bit more narrowly about what AI can do to help organizations with some specific talent processes. And to help us with that conversation, we have Yvette Cameron from Oracle. She is the SVP of Global Cloud HCM Strategy and Marketing and a frequent guest of the HR Happy Hour show in the past. Yvette, welcome back. Great to see you.
Great to see both of you. Thanks for having me back again.
It is great to see you. We're checking the logs to see how many appearances you've made on the show. As we know from long-time listeners will know, long-time guests, frequent guests, when you hit your 5 appearance mark, you get a special gift from us, the happy hour. So we'll count that up and report back. But yeah, good to see you. How's the summer been for you?
Oh my gosh, it has been amazing. Weather-wise, of course, has been crazy, right? Up and down. But I tell you this, I'm so consumed with all of the things that are happening in this space. I'm a geek, right? I love technology and I love the application. And I have just never been in a situation where things are moving so fast. So I'm putting some little different trips aside and focusing on delivering some stuff here at work. And frankly, it's one of my best summers in a while. So
Great.
I'm loving it. Yeah.
That's so good. Well, that's exciting
though. I'm sorry.
It's exciting for the listeners then, because I know our listeners have followed the Oracle journey definitely since I was a customer, and probably Steve since before you even worked there, right? Or right after. So yeah, it's always nice to have you back on and really talk about what's important, what you're hearing from your clients, what the needs are, and then just how you all are staying ahead of the game, really, because you're a leader in the space, obviously. And so yeah, thanks for coming on and talking with us today.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, so Yvette, we thought we'd get into some of AI is the #1 topic in HR tech. It was last year. It is this year. Maybe it probably will be next year too, honestly. I can't see it changing. It really is. I think it's right up there, and you can maybe give us your thoughts on it in terms of just the transformational nature of this shift. Is it similar to, cloud? Is it similar to mobile adoption? It's probably in that space, right? It's such a major transformational driver for HR. So we could talk about it generally, but we also want to talk about it specifically. But maybe just before we dive into talent and performance and goals, which we want to talk about today, maybe give us your kind of 30,000 foot kind of look at how you guys are thinking about AI in the HCM space and how's that looking for you?
Yeah, it is absolutely one of the most transformational opportunities, I think, for organizations. And it's not just changing the way that people work and interact with their technology. It's changing the technology itself, right? We've been embedding AI and for many years, the predictive AI, and last year a big focus on generative AI, and now we're moving into this new kind of AI that is more intelligent. It reasons. It combines with other agents, to form these dynamic agent teams to take action for us. And when you think about that, it truly changes the game. And suddenly, I'm asking myself, 2 years from now, guys, are we going to be navigating menu structures and clicking through screens? Or are we going to be engaging in entirely different ways? And I think about the chat bots that we've had for years, which were, great, but bespoke. Now I'm thinking the whole look and feel and the way we interact with technology is going to dramatically shift. Not sure exactly what it's all going to look like, but I think within another 18 months, because things are moving fast, we're going to see entirely new ways of engaging. And it's amazing. The great thing is it's all about productivity. It's about support, but we can't forget the human element. So those are the things that I really want to drill in today. Yeah.
I'm glad that you mentioned both productivity and support, but because I feel like that's something we're not hearing enough about. So I know we're digging in on that. Maybe before we do, though, my question would be, as you're talking to different customers or even prospects, or maybe just the broader population, right? People are you finally feeling like we're getting a sense that we're ready for this technology shift? Because I feel like sometimes in past shifts, we've been lagging quite a bit. And I don't know, I feel like I'm getting the sense when I talk to people, they're getting more comfortable with talking with AI. And again, generative, of course, but are you seeing that shift as well? So like maybe we're more ready and open to agentic AI?
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. When AI hit the market back in 2022, Oracle was, fast off the starting line. And in 23, we introduced, I don't know, 20 or however many generative AI capabilities to really, streamline processes, summarize information, et cetera. And our customers, were like, we're really interested, but we're going to wait and see. We don't know if we can trust it. We don't know, are we, by putting in performance summarization, are managers then going to become lazy and too dependent on it, et cetera? So there's a lot of hesitation. 2024, by the end of the year, I had a series of customer advisory councils. And as I said, all right, who's exploring AI and who's, engaging in projects? Almost every single hand in these rooms would go up. And these are rooms, 40, 50, 60 customers at a time. So within 1 year's time, from 23 to 24, there was a massive shift. So a lot of organizations had to, sit back, think about it, do their research, understand the different approaches, play with it on their own. I can't tell you how many of our own employees were subscribing to GPT and things outside of the organization, like we all know they are. But it has been a sea change. And companies now are not only ready for it, they are embracing projects, pilot projects. They're putting programs in place. And there's two sides of that coin that I'm seeing. They're eager to get the performance improvements and the automation and take some of the drudgery off the table so that they can refocus in other areas. And on the other side is FOMO. They're seeing what their competitors and their peers are doing, and if they're worried about falling behind.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, companies just now who are saying, yes, we're doing things, are still very much in the using generative AI to summarize and create job descriptions, while others are starting to embrace agentic AI. It's moving so fast that FOMO is real. And again, I think for organizations, different advice periods here, but you just need to start, right? You need to start. And this year, companies are very much engaged. Year and a half ago, that wasn't the story. So we're in a new place.
That's good news. Absolutely.
Yvette, one of the areas where in the HCM space specifically, where I feel like I've not thought about enough, and we have not talked about it on this show, I don't think at all in a while, at least anyway, is one of the fundamental pillars of talent in development and management organizations, which is the performance and goals process.
Yeah.
We just have not touched upon it in a little while, other than every so often we'll have a conversation that, boy, performance management really stinks and everybody hates it, right? Like that's fine. That's a conversation that lots of people have had for a really long time. And hardly anyone really has offered better ideas really to make to improve it, right? So I'd love to for you to talk a little bit about, obviously the Oracle suite supports goal setting, performance management, has for a long time. I want to talk a little bit about how the introduction of some of these new capabilities is augmenting those capabilities, but also helping customers actually have a better outcome, right? How can we make performance better is a key question I think almost every organization has every year. So what's changing in performance and in goals as a result of some of these shifts in technology?
So nobody has really called performance management sexy or exciting, have they? We've heard a lot of negative descriptions, but not those real fun, exciting ones over the years. And I think before we talk about how AI is improving, we should probably come back and focus on, first off, what are the perceived and real problems with performance management? We are still 25 years, post the introduction of, cloud and self-service, et cetera, we're still finding ourselves as an industry very much, I see in this phase of annual performance reviews or twice a year reviews. And all too often employees are caught off guard. They're hearing for the first time how their manager feels about their performance. Managers stress out about the performance review because they have to think back, okay, so what has this person done? And, look for feedback, et cetera. And the reality is when most managers write annual performance reviews, they look back 3 to 6 months, right? The feedback and the great things that happened 9, 12 months ago are forgotten. They're hard to find. And so that disconnected conversation that happens once or twice a year from the daily and weekly activities of the individual and how work is getting done is, I think, at the root of the challenge of performance management. So what have we done, right? And what are we seeing here in the industry? One of the first and most important things that AI has enabled us to do now as a market is to not leave any of that data behind. Feedback, goal achievements, updates to your goals, check-ins that you've had between your manager and employee. That information is generally stored in your HR system somewhere. But now with AI, we can go back and bring all of that information forward and summarize it. That's the strength of generative AI, that summarization and the ability to, again, not let that data fall behind, to bring it forward, bring it front and center to the manager who's writing the evaluation, to remind the employee of all the activities and things that they've done throughout the year. And now we can apply sentiment analysis to that information and look for trends and patterns, et cetera. So first and foremost, AI has enabled us to bring a comprehensive view to the performance process. And for managers, rather than sitting down and having to now look across 20, 30 pieces of feedback, I can start with the summarization of that, add my own insights, and quickly modify and fill in, these performance reviews. And this is a big part of some of the early work that we introduced at Oracle, the performance review summary for managers and goal writing too. We'll talk about goals here in just a second. But now then, as we move forward, like here into 2025 and the introduction of agentic AI, the AI that will now start taking action for you and not only recommending things, but completing forms and scheduling interviews for you for your check-ins and one-on-ones with your employee. And also guiding and coaching the managers. So understanding, as the manager is sitting down thinking, I don't want to do this review because it's going to be a difficult conversation, I can get inline coaching that's relevant to me and my company and the employee I'm going to be speaking with and their performance. So we've got now a partner, a digital partner sitting right next to us as managers who are not only completing forms and getting us started, but coaching us on better conversations, reminding us of company policy and opportunities. If I want to coach the employee for better performance, giving me recommendations on learning and development tips and coaching tips for the employee. So AI is really bringing that professional coach to my side and making me feel so much more comfortable about how I'm going to take this process forward. I heard somebody say not too long ago that AI won't necessarily ensure that you're a better manager, but it can certainly help you from becoming a worse manager, right? You're not going to become a worse manager from it. It's surfacing all that information, and from an employee's perspective, right? The ability, as I said, to bring all of that feedback and information forward and use the technology to help me prepare for my meetings and be prepared to say, what do I need? Where do I need help and where have I succeeded? It's phenomenal where we're taking this. Now, I say this because we're talking about performance management. A key piece of performance management is making sure you've got goals established. And, that's a whole nother area of challenge, I think, for organizations.
I'm so glad you're kind of diving in on that, Yvette, because I think what you've done, at least for me and what we hear, is that you're dispelling a lot of the rumors of, especially generative sort of taking over. And then as it gets into agentic, taking over the responsibility of the manager. And that's not it at all. I wrote down, your digital partner and your coach. And I think that's really how one way I'm seeing Oracle approach this in a really different manner, because it's not just that it's going to summarize something for you and do everything for you. It's that you really are also learning yourself. One thing I know, I've obviously been in a lot of the briefings with you all, it seems to me like you're helping the manager identify trends in performance they either might not be aware of. Again, if you've got performance evaluations throughout a year over, maybe the person's worked for 10 or 15 different people, right? You as the manager might not be aware of the details of every single thing. So your now digital partner and coach is helping you identify trends in your employees' performance that they might be good trends, they might be bad trends, right? Could go either way. But nonetheless, I do love that, because I think a lot of times it was data overload.
For sure.
And now with this digital partner approach, it's much more, gosh, everybody's much more informed, right? About good and bad.
Exactly. And as I was saying, I think that obviously a lot of it really should start with goal setting, right? It's one thing to judge people's performance, but if they don't have a North Star, if they don't have their objectives clearly understood, their expectations, it's a real challenge. So Gen AI has been a huge advancement for our customers on the goal setting process. I mean, we use AI to recommend goals to people in our applications based on the goals of others in the team and, of your managers and people in similar roles to you, but also on, the activities, your own objectives that you may have for your own career development. We help you write those goals. We can copy and let you edit the goals of others, but when you're creating a goal from scratch, we use generative AI to help you write that. You put it in the form that the company prefers, whether it's a SMART goal or something else. So these are really, they seem fundamental, but they're critically important. I know personally, I can edit something very quickly, but if you ask me to write a paragraph, I could spend 5 hours writing one paragraph.
Sure.
But I could edit in moments. And if we're creating that initial draft of that goal intelligently, right, using the power of large language models and the context of the company and the policies and the strategies, et cetera, it's a much faster process. So I, as we think about the goal writing and tying it into performance, the time savings and is huge. And in fact, when I look across the now over 100 generative and agentic features we have across HCM, goal writing and the agent and the generative AI capabilities we have around performance management are the top used capabilities across the suite. lots of companies writing job descriptions, supporting candidates during the process, but the number one and two uses are in goals and performance.
That's
And it's
awesome
really,
to hear.
yeah, it's really interesting. I'm going to tell you, one of our large hospitality organizations had a significant desire to really upskill and get people refocused. They deployed our various goal and performance agents in the organization. And I've got a stat here. I want to make sure I'm quoting properly. um, they increased the number of performance goals in their organization 64%. After deploying the capabilities, and the average number of goals went up, and when I saw that stat, I said, "Well, is more goals good?" But when I talked to the customer, they said specifically yes, because people were engaged in trying to grow their career opportunities, but they weren't always laser focused. And by having a better articulation of each of those goals and those objectives, and now increasing those from an average of 5 to an average of 8 per individual, they feel they're much better aligned to the development and the strategic goals of the organization. So that's huge, right? That's
Yeah,
huge.
and that makes perfect
Highly
sense.
strategic.
Right, and it also helps keep people and the organization aligned, right? And then it also gives people something to work towards. And it also works. A lot of what you've talked about, Yvette, really speaks to one of the very common complaints, for lack of a better word, that employees have traditionally had over the performance and goals process, which is it's just not fair. You have selective memory about the things I've done. I didn't have enough say so in how these goals were even established. The goals were not clear, as you said, right? Goal clarity is a huge one. So there are definitely clear applications here where AI can help address, can't solve everything, right? But it can really help organizations speak to many of those typical complaints and to work towards improving a process, which, as you said, 25 years or so of digitization of performance, and we haven't moved the needle enough yet, right, on improving it across the board. So I
Exactly.
think that's a great example.
I'm curious, as we think about goal writing, and again, I'm so excited to see the uptake and to hear, most importantly, the positive feedback from our customers. And how many times have you written a goal, you're excited, okay, that task is done, right, as an employee in an organization, and then you go to be measured against it and you realize, oh, it was pretty vague. It's
Yeah.
hard to really say, have I met this? I mean, this is one of the core challenges that, this new AI technology is helping solve.
Yeah.
Let's not just get them done. Let's not just increase the number from 5 to 8, but let's make sure that they're really clear, they're measurable. I can, really demonstrate progress against them. And when I have challenges, I can even use AI to, help support me. It's interesting though, as we talk about the performance management process, I think about the annual performance review and goal setting, but there's so much more to unlocking the performance and potential of people and organizations. And I think that, I look across, how are employees then, as part of their performance process, um, getting enrolled in the right learning? How do they know what skills to develop? As a manager, am I having conversations that aren't just about the job and the work, but the well-being of the individual?
Right.
And I mention this just to say that, you know, I I'm really proud of the role that Oracle is playing here in the talent management space, because we're not just applying agentic AI to performance management. We're not just, we've introduced an agent that will summarize all the goals and the status for a manager across the team, and the sentiment, of how people are feeling and doing based on feedbacks, et cetera. But we're also helping managers have more frequent check-ins with their employees. We're using AI to recommend agendas. We're using AI to schedule those interviews. We are using AI to help people write, congratulatory messages, to celebrate milestones and achievements. All of those are critical pieces of performance. The problem is that so many times they happen in silos, across the organization. The learning person's assigning learning to grow your skills, and the talent, the chief culture officer is rolling out a rewards and recognition program to do that. But all of those things have to come together. And that's, where, again, when I think about performance management, all of those are critical signals into the health and the performance and the engagement of the individual. And when your performance review can look across not just feedback and check-ins, but across celebrations, across surveys, across kudos that people are receiving, and profile updates and skill accomplishments from taking different classes and working in gigs. When your performance review can assemble and really focus on all of that, again, with the power of AI, you've changed the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're really focusing now on the whole individual, not just the pieces and parts.
Yeah, I think, we've talked before about this with you. It's the interconnectedness is made easier and possible, not just by both generative and agentic AI, but the fact that it is a full service suite, right? Having all of those things tied directly together also, saves time, and it also keeps your employees better connected, because then it's not just in a silo, like you're saying. Like, it's not just learning, you have a goal over here, and performance is something completely different, right? It's all tied together, and so it's almost impossible to get them apart. You wouldn't be able to, right? All of these things that you're talking about keep that ball moving, so that your employee feels connected to the leader, to the company, to the vision and of the goals of the entire organization, and how they fit in, and ultimately helps with retention because they feel like they have a purpose that they understand.
Yeah.
So I still always come back to, I was an Oracle customer years ago when I was still in HR, and to see this evolution of that, it was nice because we had a connected one suite approach back then, but now to sort of see all of these different elements, it's such a holistic approach.
What I think, and this may sound contradictory, but with a more connected system and really applying technology to ensure we're capturing the data, that we are engaged in all of these processes and bringing it together. With all of this technology, I think it lets us be more human, right? Because when the agents, through their intelligence, bring the data together, again, we introduced our new performance and goals agent earlier this year, I guess. And it does coaching, it brings information together, but it's one of dozens of agents that we can now assemble into a team of support systems, right? Your digital support system. By bringing all of this together, as a manager, I have so much more insight now into really, who Trish is, who Steve is, how are they doing, how are they feeling, how are others feeling about them, how's their work progressing, etc. So that I'm not having to spend the time to assemble that. I can really focus on digesting it. The agent will help coach me. It'll provide its insights on that, but it's not replacing the human, right, in this process. The agent's going to assemble all of this great information and say, hey, great, it looks like Trish is on target, blah blah blah. But only I, through my human interaction with you, I'm going to see that, oh, you seem tired, or there's a condition, something that's affecting you, or that those human observations are still what we need to bring to the table. And when we can synthesize that with the data collection from the agent, it just makes us, again, I think it enables us to be better managers. Again, it's not going to make us. We have to apply our human aspects to the data that we're seeing to be better managers, but the agents can certainly help us suck less.
I love that.
There's definitely an element here that's very, very important, Yvette, and you just mentioned it, which is supporting managers as well. Manager's job's not easy. What we're seeing too in the data, right, just as a macro trend right now, at least certainly in the US, spans of control are increasing. Lots of companies are, cutting some levels and flattening, if you will, right? And so not necessarily cutting people, but flattening layers. And so direct managers are getting more direct reports. And so there's more to deal with, more people to coach and to manage and to help and guide and to know about. And certainly the AI can help in that too. If you've gone from, say, 3 or 4 direct reports, which is kind of a standard number most organizations have had for a long time, or 5, now you've got 7, 8, 9, maybe, right? All of a sudden, wow, this problem just got 2x bigger, right? And but that's a very real thing that's happening in organizations everywhere right now.
It is. People are definitely being expected to do more, and with, sometimes and more increasingly with less, doing more with less. The expectation of deploying AI in the organization comes with, we expect a 30 to 50% reduction in the time you're spending on your current work. So you should be able to assume more, because you're empowered with AI. And we've seen in the market, some of the impact of that. But we've also seen, like some of the recent hospitality customer I mentioned. We've got a cruise line who's had some similar really great results from deploying AI, especially around performance and goals in their organization. That it is a performance enhancer, but it's also a cultural enhancement. And so, which is so important when managers are being tasked with, just as you said, Steve, more work, more people to manage, et cetera. If I can cut through the noise and really focus on what matters, it's a game changer for me. As I think about, the where this technology is taking us in the next, year or so, um, you know, I'm I I'm super glad it's here. To your point of managers having more employees, I think about the emails that I get, so performance management, you've got goals and you update the system with your goal status. But the reality is I'm probably getting weekly emails and check-ins from each person. Oh, in preparation for a meeting, here's some 5 things, et cetera. That's a lot of emails when you have 5 or 7 or 20 direct reports. How do you cut through that? So as we're moving forward, we're looking at all the different places where work and communication is happening, whether it's an email or Slack or Teams or in a technology environment, like ours, in Slack and some of the collaboration in Jira and other places. And how can we use AI to bring those signals together again to help give me a digest by individual and across my team, what's happening, and use the technology to help pinpoint where I need to focus. Because again, with 7, 10, or 15 or so direct reports, I'm getting these updates and it's not always clear to me in the moment who's really struggling. And not a lot of people will ask for help when they need it. But by the tone of their message or the content showing that maybe progress isn't as where it should be, et cetera, the AI can help surface that for me. So here's what's happening across your team, but you really should set up a one-on-one with Steve. Can I do that for you? And this is
Sure.
exactly where we're
That's
heading.
it. Right.
Really that I keep coming back to the assistant. I want to say people are excited about AI in the company, but they're still worried about the technology. Is it going to take my job? Is it going to be biased? Is it too technology and not human enough centric? If we think about agentic AI, these agents that are doing things for us, proactively getting information, proactively scheduling meetings, moving us through the process, if we think about them just as additional employees, right? Individuals, digital individuals who are our assistants. And this is the mindset we have at Oracle, is we're thinking about the use cases we build and how you should be able to assemble teams of digital support, so teams of digital agents that will come together and help you. Think about them as like they're employees. How would you want your assistant? How would you want this team to go to work for you? And with that in mind, I think it takes a little bit of the fear out of what are these agents going to do, and brings in the excitement of the opportunity of what these agents can do for you so that you can be a better employee, a better manager, a better leader, etc. So I'm just really excited about where this market is going, where the technology is taking us. And I do believe the mindset shift is starting to happen as people think about it, from the scary AI technology to the exciting digital employee who's going to be there for me 24/7, helping me every step of the way.
Yeah. I'm glad that you're kind of summarizing it that way, because to me, as you're talking, I'm thinking all the way back to the beginning of the conversation, and it's all about trust. You have to have a partner you trust. And
Yeah.
I think it's when you talk to someone about their work and whether or not they're using any type of advanced AI, right? That trust or distrust always pops up, right? So it's so important to find a partner for your organization. And Oracle, I know, is like doing all of these steps behind the scenes, and you're keeping your customers apprised of all the checks and balances you have in place so that there is that trust. You're
No,
not feeling like, you
yeah.
know,
And I appreciate your saying that, but I have to say we're doing this in lockstep with our customers too. I think part of the reason that we're able to move so fast and get such huge adoption and such great feedback from those who are using it is because we are working so closely with them. I'm just thrilled with the level of engagement across our customers and our partners, bringing their challenges forward, deploying our solutions early when they first came out, and with early iterations, giving us feedback, and just really partnering with us on like shaping the future of how things like traditional performance management are possible now with this new application of AI technology.
and
Yeah.
isn't that better than getting calls from customers saying, can you add this or that to a drop down screen? Right? Like, I
You
feel,
know,
but
yes, yes, and this is one of the most exciting for me as a technology strategist, right? I love to deliver solutions to the market, but I can envision very soon an entire set of processes where I'm no longer having to select anything from a drop down. I'm not having to navigate through a
Oh,
transaction.
I think we're closer to that than farther away from it than ever, right? The
Absolutely.
hierarchical menus and navigating through these trees to try to figure stuff out. Where's that form I need, or where do I kick off such and such transaction? That will soon be history, and we'll just be interacting either in a text-based way or a voice-based way or something to say, hey, file a PTO request for me, for next Thursday, and
Yeah.
it'll just, those kinds of things. And some of
And
that's already happening, but honestly, but
it is happening, and it's changing really fast, because I think a year ago the mindset was, oh, we should do all this in a text experience. But if all you're doing in that text experience is asking something so that you can fill out a field in the background, and then you basically you've added to the process, because texting and typing is going to take more than a click and a
sure.
selection. So
Yeah.
we're rethinking that experience. Yes, ask me questions, give me context, but don't just replicate a field entry form with a chat experience. And that's what a lot of organizations, a lot of technologies out there are doing.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't know what the full future is going to look like. And it's not going to be 18 months. We're going to see fully agentic applications. Okay, so this is NDA, right? This is secret. I'm not kidding.
Right.
But we will see fully agentic applications by the end of the year.
Yeah.
And but I think that the experience that we're even delivering is going to morph even next year, as a result of what's possible with the technology. That's how fast this is moving.
Yeah, you at the top of the show, Yvette, you talked about just how excited you were about how quickly things are happening and the capabilities that are emerging, and how you guys are delivering, really almost co-creating with customers to deliver these great solutions. And you're like skipping your vacation for it practically, it
Yes,
sounds like. But
yes.
it's true. I do think this is probably the most exciting time to be working in enterprise tech in the last 30 years, right? Like cloud was awesome, but I don't know anybody who got really, really excited about it, right? It was really a technical exercise more than anything else. It was exciting, I suppose, but it was it's different. This
I
is
don't know.
different.
I don't even know what to equate it to.
Yeah.
The enthusiasm. Do you guys remember when Palm Pilots came out.
Oh yeah,
You were
They
probably
were pretty cool. I had one. Yeah.
but everybody
I
was
had one.
excited. But that it was that hype cycle that like hit, and then the trough of disillusionment came right away.
Yeah.
We moved very quickly into then mobile phones and other things, but the excitement for this, immediately was there, and we saw as a whole, global community how quickly GPT was adopted. But I don't know what to equate it to because I've
No.
never seen anything, and we're still not we haven't uncovered all the opportunities.
Right.
Again, I just keep thinking about the user experience and beyond traditional text-based interfaces. Where else is that going to go? It's going to be different than we're
Yeah.
experiencing now, and personalized and helpful and not scary and productive and driving outcomes for organizations. Um, the dashboards, the insights, it is coming into work.
Yeah, I
Going to
think I'll go out on a limb and say, I've seen a lot of demos, and and there's been a lot of HR and other enterprise silo applications where like the provider will create like a digital assistant or a chat. Some in HR we see a lot of them get names, right? This is Mary Jane, she's the recruiting assistant, or Rex, and that's your assistant for whatever. I think like pretty soon we'll all just have our own assistant, and you can name it whatever you want, and it'll do all the things that Mary Jane and Rex can do, but it'll do other things based on what you want it to do, and you'll help train it, and it will be your thing. And I think that's what's coming probably. I don't know when, but soon, probably soon. And I think we're seeing that in the experience lots of people have in their personal lives with these really powerful generative AI tools, that they sort of train them, right? And they get to know you, right? And we, that's a whole nother conversation about, how much people are relying on these things for another time. But I think in the enterprise, certainly, like when you sit down and fire up your agent or your pal, Trish will be your agent who works differently than mine, much like our iPhones, right? You mentioned the iPhones. Everybody gets the same iPhone when you take it out of the box, and within 2 minutes, everybody's iPhone is different, right? Because you start catering it to however you want, right?
Yeah.
I hope you're right. I think too, we've talked a little bit about, how these tools can help maybe a manager identify tone changes or just performance changes more quickly so that we can insert ourselves as humans into the conversation. But I'm also thinking, for me, even just with like Chat GPT, it knows me well enough, and it can search things I've written over time, and it can notice me. Like it can tell me things about myself that I'm maybe not noticing, and so I just wonder too, it's a help to the managers as well.
Well, yeah, and so our point of view, and in talking with our customers, this is what organizations want. They want that personalized coaching and guidance.
Yeah.
And back to the core topic of this conversation, performance management. That's what the best performance management is. It's continuous check-ins and coaching, course corrections, conversations. Hey, how are you doing? And those conversations can happen with an agent, right? That guides you then to maybe, hey, take a break or enroll in this course, or, do this thing over here, check out this mentor over here. It can happen in the course of guiding the manager to have those human conversations. But this personalization and this knowledge of the individual, in an enterprise perspective, it comes from data being centralized, right? We at Oracle suggest that the AI needs to be very close to the data, because you have the context, you have the real timeness, you have the ability to take action on those recommendations. But that AI close to the data also means that personalization. We know you, and we've learned from you, right? We understand the performance and the activities and various things, and it does become your individual coach at work for growth, for goal achievement, for feeling a part of the culture, for connecting with individuals, for improving the well-being that you experience at work, et cetera, for all of those things. It's a different case. So as you were talking, Steve, a phrase came into my head, the future. I see performance and goal agents, these AI agents and generative capabilities applied to performance management as the gateway drug or the gateway agent to other agents across the enterprise. Our approach especially is one that's pretty comprehensive, but building that trust and that comfort with the process that is so pervasive across organizations of all types and sizes, managing and coaching performance and having check-ins and annual performance reviews. That comfort and that experience can open the door to so many other uses of agents across the organization. It's really important.
Well, awesome. I think we'll leave it there, Yvette. That's a great sort of summarization, way to put a bow on it. I love that we dug into performance and goals a lot. And I love, honestly, my highlight of the show, I think, Yvette, when you talked about for the customers who are using these tools, performance and goals has been the number one use case that they've been adopting. And I think that speaks to the importance of these processes, certainly, but also to the potential for these new tools to really improve these processes and make a big difference for employees, for managers, and for organizations overall. So that to me is a major takeaway from the conversation today.
Yeah.
Great
Well,
stuff.
thank you guys. I enjoyed the conversation so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, us too. So Trish, oracle.com/HCM. Certainly get all the Oracle information there. Yvette, we can find you on LinkedIn, right? Folks can reach out to you there.
Indeed.
Absolutely. Great.
And we'll have some resources in the show notes as well. So some different information that you all have published about your agents and goals assistants, and just how, as leaders ourselves, we can inform ourselves more and stay abreast of what's coming from Oracle. So
appreciate it. And I hope to see you at Cloud World in September.
We will be at Cloud World.
We'll be there.
Okay.
All right. Good stuff, Trish. This has been great. It's been a great time on the network lately. Loads of great shows. Go to hrhappyhour.net for everything. We just wrapped up a 5-part series on the Workplace Minute, Trish, on the big, beautiful bill. How about that?
I know.
I was busy reading legislation all week. So check that out. hrhappyhour.net for all the shows. Thanks to Yvette. Thanks to our friends at Oracle. Thank you, Trish. My name is Steve Boese. We will see you next time on the HR Happy Hour Network. And bye for now.